You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 13, Episode 11, titled Pop Goes the Queens. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one lascivious co-host from the podcast Pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
I think we got the farts!
I knew you were going to do that one! I knew it!
Then why didn't you call it?
I knew that was going to be the one.
To Taylor the Latte Boy, why didn't you call it then? Why don't you say it's going to be the one? It's going to be...
I think we got the farts!
It was going to be either that one, or it was going to be, y'all got low blood sugar.
Oh, I didn't hear that one. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't think about that one. I have different options. I didn't pull them, but I had different... I write it down in the notes, like, and this is the one that won, but...
Now, the one with the farts, when he said that, I was just like, that's gonna be the one he picks.
There were a couple other hello. There were a couple other contenders. By the way, people over at Patreon who were listening live, they got their money's worth today, because we did...
I'd say.
Yeah, they got a Just Between Us Girls. Then we did Just Between Us Girls. Mm-hmm. And then Dickhead over in Scotland decided to poke fun at me. And then there was a whole 10-minute post Just Between Us Girls. You know, a previous version of Joe Betance, pre-depression Joe Betance, would have blocked Dickhead.
Yeah.
You know? Now I'm just like, I just changed his name to Dickhead.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I quit him at the client. Any news, Taylor, that you want to share with any drag racing? I saw that this is like Drag Race Australia. Oh, by the way, I was talking to Taylor the other day on the phone, and we were talking about the different seasons. And Taylor was like, he goes, well, you know, we have All Stars coming up, and Drag Race Down Under, and Drag Race España. And I was like, who the fuck? Drag Race España.
España?
Yeah, and at first I thought he said Drag Race Australia. I'm like, he wouldn't say España, and then he gets the phone, and he goes, no, Drag Race España. Do you want?
Well, that's what it's called. Well, how should I say it? España?
Drag Race Spain.
But it's not called Drag Race Spain. It's called Drag Race España. This
is America. Love it or leave it, Taylor.
Make Drag Race great again.
Please.
Please, somebody, please
help us
make Drag Race great again.
Yeah, but you know, I was thinking, you know, I made this pledge. I'm going to tell you something. I made this pledge that I'm only going to do the flagship U.S. show, All Stars, and Dragula, and I'm going to stick to this pledge. But listener Haley Sklans commented on Patreon somewhere, in talking about Drag Race Down Under, that her mom, as we know, Haley's mom, was excited. Has got it going on, but she also...
Sorry, too easy. I love that song.
Isn't it Stacey's mom?
It is Stacey's mom. But anytime you ever say Haley's mom, in my head I always go, it's got it going on. But okay, so...
But, she goes, oh, I can't wait to hear Lori and Joe do the Australian accents. And I was like...
Oh no.
Because we would get NatPat90 as the Australian person, and then me and Lori going, hello, NatPat90! Hello! Put another shrimp in the barbie!
We're going to talk about Drag Race!
We're going to talk about Drag Race! Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind
That's not a queen, that's a queen.
Yeah, we just make those jokes all the time, and just get the Vegemite. And go get
us in your house.
Hey, this Karen from...
It looks like it's in your house.
This Karen from Finance. Do you know about this Karen from Finance drama?
I know there's a queen named Karen from finance that's been famous for years that other queens talk about, that she's got such a great name. Was she problematic?
Oh, yeah, it's been a problem for a couple of weeks because she used to. So let me tell you. So I was talking to somebody, I don't remember who it was, and they were saying, "Oh, what do you about this Karen from finance drama?" Because she collects those, like, you know, those old black Cupid dolls. But when I say black, not only are they making fun of African Americans in a very racist way, but they're also literally the color black, which no human being is, you know?
Uh-huh.
And they're super racist with, like, just, I'm not going to get into what they are, but we all know what they look like, right?
We all know. Those of us of a certain age know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Usually our grandmas had them or something like that, you know, but he collects them. His boy persona collects them. And so I wasn't necessarily apologizing for that because that is weird. But I was like, oh, but that is a thing people do and they've done and stuff like that. Like that's, and I was even saying that's mostly old people. I go, I mean, it's weird, but, you know, some people collect it in an almost kitsch way, you know?
Yeah.
So I was kind of explaining that to this person. They go, no, but he also has a tattoo of it. And Karen yeah, and I go, oh, that's weird.
Oh, that's not good.
That's strange. Right, that's taking it to a whole
Where is
other...
the tattoo?
I don't know. I know she has since gotten it covered up. Right?
Okay.
But had a tattoo and would, I guess, put it on social media because people have pictures of said tattoo. I think on the leg, I'm imagining. And it's problematic, to say the least.
Okay.
You know what's funny, too, is how are you fair? Because today we're going to talk, I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm assuming you're talking about the same thing, is the patent unfairness of the show. And, yeah. And,
yep.
And how do you do a show where Karen from Finance is so famous and so beloved, but also one of the contestants on Drag Race Down Under is one named Art Simone, who already has a show on Wow Presents Plus. So how are you fair to a person who's already done a show for you on the platform? I don't know. Well, I mean, I'll be very interested to see, but
yeah.
That's going to see. Well, let's get right into it. This week, the queens test their Drag Race knowledge against the pit crew and then promote their brands by creating a commercial for their very own soft drink. Simone and Rosé both snag a win, while Utica and Tina Burner land in the bottom two and are forced to battle it out in a lip-sync battle for their lives. In the end, Utica snags a Shantae You Stay, while Tina Burner is asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
There were a couple of things that I liked that were slightly different. This felt like a different mini challenge than we've ever really seen before. And I would love for this to become a staple of the mini challenges every season, of whether it's either past Drag Race history, or even if they focus on one season, but they don't tell the girls which season it is, where they just say, today we're going to be talking about season 6. Today we're going to be talking about season 8. And it was interesting to hear the pit crew talk. I don't know that we've ever heard the pit crew talk before in a previous season. The other thing that I liked about the new stuff was the idea of having the previous season's winner, come and talk with the girls and talk a little bit about this particular challenge. I thought that was really great. I love Jada and was happy to see her. I thought she looked beautiful. I also kind of love that orange seems to be sort of one of her signature colors, and I love the color orange, so she just looked amazing. The thing, and so that's one thing. I'm kind of combining them into one thing. The other thing was some of the looks on the runway were so polished and so amazing. We'll get to that more when we talk to the looks, that there was fun to watch. And I just thought of a third thing too. Can I say the third thing?
Sure.
I actually cheered when Rosé won as well, because I really liked Rosé's, and I was a little sad that, because I kind of almost liked hers more than I liked Simone's, for reasons that we'll talk about when we talk about the commercials. But I was just like, I was genuinely happy for her. The thing I do not like is the goopery and the clear. There's always been sort of this unwritten, we kind of know before the season starts, they have a basic running order of who should go home when. And they just kind of pick them off one at a time. But the over-the-top ridiculousness of this deliberation and critiques was so ridiculous and so blatant that it was hard to listen to. How about you?
You and I are very in sync today. One of the things I like was this mini challenge. You're right. It's a great mini challenge. They should do it again. It was fun because it's also something you can play along with at home if you can beat the queens, you know. It reminds me too, you know, we're also, not to do another patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia plug, for the exclusive tier, we're currently covering season 3. And we just did an episode where they played a game that I'm surprised they haven't done again, where it was almost like a Wheel of Fortune, but where the letters fill in themselves, and they had to guess shit RuPaul says.
Okay.
And they had to buzz in first as the letters pop up on the screen, the first one to buzz in and finish the phrase. Which is funny because it's the first time we see she done, already done, had hers is. It's one of the answers in the game, which I'd never heard her say in the show before, but whatever. And so I was like, oh, I wish I would have brought that game back. So these kinds of games where the queens buzz in and stuff like that are very fun, and they should do them more often. Next, I was a big fan of the looks, not necessarily all of them. I mean, for instance, Candy's was a problem, and there are a couple other ones that I have quibbles with. But the actual theme was different from what they usually do. In my notes, I actually said the Boulet brothers are shook by how much the show, because a lot of these looks would fit in very well with Dragula, and not all of them, but a lot of them
with
would've.
some tweaks.
Yeah, with some tweaks, but like Utica's look could have easily been a look that would have been on Dragula. And so I really like the theme of the look. That was a really good theme. It's so funny. I have typed out notes, actually, that I do. And on the thing I don't like, I literally wrote the Grigory stunt shows and tomfoolery with this judging where it's never been more blatant. Now, Taylor, I don't, as a general rule, do not give spoilers on the show. And I'm still not going to give a spoiler. Don't stress. Mm-hmm. But remind me, or can someone who's listening live remind me maybe around the reunion time about this conversation? Because at some point in the episode, I'm not going to say when, I'm not going to say anything, they literally spoil the entire show. As someone who hosts a show called The Rumor Mill, we're talking about spoilers, they literally spoil the editors. Maybe they're doing a little slight joke for themselves. Spoil the entire show. And I was like, oh, that's bold, right?
During the main episode or Untucked?
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
But they spoiled the whole show. And, and so, but it shows you how in the bag this show is for certain people. And it's just, it's predetermined. It's something that I used to talk about in the early days of Drag Race. And people would write in, they probably don't even listen anymore, but they would write it and get really mad when I would say that this is completely designed, you know?
Yeah.
It's stated storyboard today. This show is storyboarded. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any changes and differences and things happen along the way, but I think that the producers imagine a storyline and see how it plays out. And I think we saw evidence of that today, that certain people are in the bag to make sure those storylines play out. And it was very disappointing to see. All right, let's move on here. After Denali's elimination, Rosé mourns the departure of her best friend, Denali. Olivia struggles to clean the lipstick off the mirror. The queens congratulate Utica and Simone on their wins. The girls discuss the main stage question about who should go home. Most of them said Olivia, but Olivia, for her part, didn't take it personally. Candy, in confessional, doesn't believe Olivia didn't take it personally because Candy took it personally. The next day, the queens return to the workroom and throw some playful shade. Meanwhile, Candy doesn't understand how numbers work. And next, RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's mini challenge. It's a game show called Are You Smarter Than the Pit Crew? The pit crew appears on screen and asks some basic Drag Race trivia questions. The girls will buzz in with the answer, and the queen with the most right answers wins. In the end, Candy Muse proves she knows more than the pit crew and the other girls. Next, RuPaul announces this week's maxi challenge. The queens will each create a unique branded soda and star in a commercial for it. There's a lot to take in there, Taylor. But yet, strangely not a lot happened. Any thoughts on everything that leads right to the commercial break, essentially, that first act?
The whole idea of Olivia not taking it personally, but Candy saying, I took it personally, I think that sort of speaks to where both of them are in their lives.
Yeah.
As we'll learn more about Candy later on. Mm-hmm. And I think it is possible to recognize that this is a game and that this is where everybody has to say somebody. Mm-hmm. Olivia was aware of where she screwed up. Mm-hmm. And I think that she shouldn't have, I think the fact that she took it positively and that it didn't turn into where she came back and did the Alexis Mateo of All Stars, I'm sending all you fucking bitches home, is refreshing. You know, whereas with Candy saying, I took it personally, that's expected.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily surprise me. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think Olivia is in a better place. And also I think, look, this episode is no different actually in that I felt last week, which it was actually not, apart from the horrible judging, it wasn't a terrible episode to watch, actually. I know people are complaining about the season. It's milquetoast, but it's not boring. I'm not I'm not bored, but there's just not much to recap. And part of this explains Olivia in that the queens get along so well that she understands, look, they're put in this awful position. She was there too, and they have to say somebody, and she didn't do too well in the competition. And also probably recognize that the queens are just listening to what the judges say and anticipating what the judges said, And so, and then also, if you think about it, the reason it came up is the girls they didn't apologize to Olivia, but talking about how shitty it was to be in that position and have to name one of their sisters.
And they all talk about the fact that they say the dreaded question every season. So they know at some point this question is going to be asked at least once. I feel like it's been asked more than once in previous seasons.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that, somebody has to be picked, and sometimes it is everybody kind of gangs up on one person. And if she did the worst out of everybody when everybody was getting glowing reviews, they should have all said her name. Mm-hmm. And she recognizes that. Yeah. That shows maturity for somebody who's as young as Olivia is. That shows a sense of maturity and recognition where you own it. Mm-hmm. You own that you didn't do a good job.
Well, actually, what's really interesting, what's very, very interesting is we've learned in this episode and a previous episode that Olivia and Candy have had similar backgrounds. And what I mean is, didn't Olivia go through some sort of bullying thing in high school? Yes. And Candy did too. And it's interesting how they both came out differently from that experience, where I feel Olivia took that experience and evolved, and Candy, and we can talk about this more on Elimination Day, took that and became the aggressor, which can often happen as well. As you know, Taylor wrote the book, the award-winning book. I can't wait till he talks about this. Bully Me, Bully You. National by Taylor Latte Boy DDS. Big bestseller everywhere. And we're going to hear all about that. But but as you know, Taylor, often bullies have been bullied themselves.
Yes.
Yes,
and by somebody. It works its way, it trickles its way down the line.
Yeah. But then sometimes, like for instance, there's a kid, I don't talk about him that much, but I still keep in contact with him. Armando, this kid that I mentored, had a terrible upbringing. I mean, like tragic. Something you would see in a fucking movie, but he, for some reason, I don't know why it is, the way that everything worked out, is that made him want to work harder and be an A student and go to Stanford and study his ass off and work really hard to get out of there. Where for a lot of kids, that same situation makes them want to join a gang or do other things. And it's just interesting how the brain works and how it reacts to things. And we see that with Olivia and Candy. And that Olivia takes it and she evolves, and Candy takes it and becomes a bully. So, I don't know. It's super, super interesting. In terms of other things, too, it's, again, because I host a show called The Rumor Mill, I know what's going to happen for the most part. So I knew Tina was going home. And there are little bits of, which this show does it all the time, but they're more obvious when you watch the show and know what's going to happen, where Tina says prophetic things. Like in this segment and the next and later on the next day, she says things, well, I can still come back, or I'm time due for a win, or something. I don't know what she says. Something like that. And you're like, oh, bitch. See you later.
Oh, you poor bitch.
I'm like Laverne and Shirley waving bye to the bottle with the glove on it, you know? Tina being the bottle.
Don't make fun of her drag like that.
Exactly. And then the other thing I was going to say is the next day, they're all walking. It's a minor thing. Or is it? They're walking in the next day. And I just catches my eye because I have an eye for this. Utica, they've mentioned this in the show. Utica has a big old fucking swinging dick. When she's walking in the next...
Really?
Oh my God. It is like a baby's arm holding an orange, just swinging in the wild as she walks in the next day, super happy, you know? And I'm
well, she's super tall and lanky, so that's all of that helps as far as with length and girth and...
Yeah, I don't know how girthy it is, but oh my God. Well, I was like, hello, Utica.
Can we talk about the fact that I had no idea that the one pit crew guy was Latinx?
Did it turn you on that he was?
Yeah. when he asked the question with the accent, I kind of was like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What, Poppy? What did you say?
It's funny that you say that. I've started calling Aiden Poppy, and you can tell he gets like the shivers. You know, like he likes it. Mm-hmm. So,
do you say it with a thick accent?
I do. All of a sudden, I become the guy from Police Academy, George Martin. Remember that guy who's the fake Latin guy in Police Academy?
No, I don't remember that.
He's actually kind of hot. Yeah. The original Police Academy, there's a guy who pretends to be Latinx so he can get the ladies. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will have to go back and somebody will post in the chat a picture of this guy, and then I'll go, oh, I remember.
Speaking of big dicks, this Steve Guttenberg, legendary, and you can see it a lot of times. You look at his early movies, he's wearing little short OP shorts, and it's just his Guttenberg is just Girthyberg is what I'm calling him. But anyway, we're talking.
Steve Guttenberg was a moment for me back
me
at
too.
like the age of like
Me
12 or
too.
13. I think
Yes.
all of us of a certain age, we all had with the hairy chest and the little tiny shorts and the big thighs and the big cheesy smile
and the big cheesy dick in his pants.
Yeah, I would like the big cheesy dick in his pants. Absolutely.
Can someone find a good? I'm sure they exist. A good Steve Guttenberg bulge pic and put it in the Discord. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Have you said anything to say about this? Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So then the next day was the mini challenge, which we liked, and I kind of said what I wanted to think about that. I have a question. What is if you do you drink soda? Do you still drink soda? You drink Diet Coke.
I love Diet Coke.
Okay. Have you always been a Diet Coke girl, or did you drink like full on sugary drinks before? And if so, what were your favorites?
I think I was a fan I would have these moments. It's always Coke, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Always Coke. I don't understand these Pepsi people. I think it's just Mormons or something like that, right? But, like, you know, I won't go to Taco Bell or any Yum brand company and eat there because they only serve Pepsi. For a while, I think they spun
brands of soda. They have other flavors of soda that aren't Pepsi, though.
There's something about the Pepsi whole lineup that I just can't get into.
Okay, I have a caveat with that, but okay.
Like, I prefer a lot of the Coke brands. In fact, even my new brand I promoted, Topo Chico, is owned by Coca-Cola. You know? But, anyway, but Diet Coke, for some reason, I just literally, like, it's not even like, oh, because it's sugar-free. I prefer the taste of Diet Coke. That is just a flavor thing. I just like it, you know?
Okay.
But why are you asking?
No, just as a conversation point. I mean, I haven't had soda in almost
nothing
3
carbonated.
Years. No, I've had like carbonated water, like sparkling water, but I've had like ginger ale in a drink or something, like where a couple of times where like at the holidays, my friend Taffy will make a drink and then she'll say, try this. She goes, and there's ginger ale in it. I'm like, I'm not drinking soda anymore, but it's like a sip of it and that's not that big of a deal. But as far as to have like a can of something or a 20 ounce or a glass of something like that, I don't miss it anymore with the occasional exception. Like last night we had Chinese food, and for me, Chinese food always went really well with a cherry Coke. And that was sort of those where I was drinking my glass of water with it. Thought, oh God, a cherry Coke sounds really good. We grew up as a Coke family. And with the one exception of Mountain Dew was like the only Pepsi brand that I still really liked. Mm-hmm. And that was that deep into my non-adherence with my diabetes days. Mm-hmm. Like Mountain Dew was the shit. Like where I could just drink gallons of Mountain Dew at any time.
Mm-hmm. I can't get into Mountain Dew. I tried. I know our friend Adam Burns, during there was some sort of natural disaster that was going to happen in Arkansas, and he went to the supermarket and posted a picture. Man, the fucking South, man. It was like all the diet sodas were still there, but the Mountain Dew was just fucking clear out. There's no Mountain Dew or Diet Mountain Dew, and he was fit to be tied, you know? And you just will not try Diet Coke or even a Coke Zero you don't like either, right?
No, honestly, I wouldn't try any of the diet drinks just because, one, they all have the aspartame, and I always feel like that leaves a weird taste in the back of my mouth. But also, I'm afraid that would be sort of the gateway drug for me to go to, getting other things.
What about this LaCroix?
We drink bubbly.
Sure.
We like bubbly, which is similar. And the orange bubbly tastes enough like orange soda that I feel like I get the idea. Well, we like orange and we like blackberry. Those are our two favorites. Mm-hmm. And we've tried the cherry, and the cherry's but the cherry's hard to come by here. Every once in a while when you go to get some, like Target will have them 2 for $8, two boxes of them for $8. And for some reason the cherry's always gone. Mm. But, I've had LaCroix before. They're okay. But as far as a full on soft drink, it'll be coming up 3 years, next month.
Well, you're putting a nice silver lining on it because you almost died from having too many hurricanes in New Orleans.
No, that was 5 years ago.
Oh, what happened?
No, that was
is this the cancer?
Because of the cancer, yes. I almost had died from too many hurricanes in New Orleans, and then I stopped drinking soda for a while, and then I went back to drinking soda, and then I got cancer, and I haven't had any since.
You're basically in your own Final Destination movie, is what you're trying to say.
I am. I will say this: I was so stressed out because I haven't had soda and I haven't had McDonald's. I've had other fast food, but McDonald's is one of those because it's so cheap and it's so quick right by my house that I would just eat it all the time. Yeah. And I was so stressed out Thursday due to some medical issues with the dogs that on the way back to work, I'm like, I just want McDonald's French fries so bad. And I thought to myself, you know what? 3 years is a good run. Fuck it. And then I'm like, no, I can't allow myself to do this because if I get that, then I know I'm going to end up with a Coke, and then it's just all going to go downhill from here. So I decided not to do it.
That's very strong of you.
Thank you.
I wish I could quit McDonald's.
Because you have McDonald's. Well, your McDonald's is my Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I get Dunkin' Donuts just about every day.
Well, definitely have McDonald's every time we do Drag Race Recap because A, they're open, they're close by, and 2, you know what's so funny? It's going to sound really weird. Because I think McDonald's is always the poster child for bad health, bad fast food. But I feel that they have options that you can do. So, like, my go-to meal is only 300 calories. I get 1 Egg McMuffin and a Diet Coke. And that's my breakfast, and I've actually lost, since we ended fat camp in November, another 10 to 15 pounds. So,
have you?
Yeah. No, 10 to 15 pounds in the past 6 weeks because she packed on the pounds, during Christmas. But then, but I still have McDonald's quite frequently, but I don't have fries. I have this new potatoes are evil kind of thing, and I generally avoid potatoes. And so, and I just have been slowly dropping the weight, and I've also been working out and whatnot. I'm sure everyone in the public feed really appreciates all this extra information. All right. One thing about the mini challenge, RuPaul kept insinuating the pit crew was stupid. But someone pointed out on Discord, and I think I kind of used that Bryce, the white guy, the redhead, right? He's an aerospace engineer. I knew that kind of because he has a YouTube channel now. He's trying to get a YouTube,
really,
yeah, he has a YouTube thing he's trying to get doing, and he's so nerdy. He's like super nerdy, and so I knew that he had some sort of like really smart job based on the YouTube channel. I just didn't quite know what it was. So I'm like, well, I'm calling him stupid. He's an aerospace engineer by day job. No one's paying the bills by being a pit crew person. All right. Next, the queens gather in the workroom to design their soda cans, compose a jingle, and film their commercials. Tina chooses a burning theme and bores Olivia with the details. Gottmik tells Simone her design looks like a penis. Rosé will make fun of her focus on perfection. Utica wants a cow, and Gottmik plans to poke fun of herself, but runs into trouble with her storyboard. Next, Jada Essence Hall surprises the girls via video to answer questions and offer advice. Taylor the Latte Boy, any thoughts on this whole segment in the workroom?
I felt for Gottmik because in many ways, I think I have been Gottmik in the past where I've made things more difficult for myself than they need to be. Mm-hmm. And I think we all go through experiences with that. But that was really resonating with me where they were saying, well, wait, can you do this? And I'm like, well, yeah, no, we'll just do this. And then suddenly get my head so wrapped up that I'm sort of like, fuck, what was I, where am I going to start? Mm-hmm. So I felt for Gottmik in that moment. I would say that, you know, as I said before, with Jada, Jada was awesome, and I would love to see that happen more often. I know that normally they probably would have had her come through the workroom, but obviously they're limiting that due to COVID.
No, I have it in my notes. I completely agree with you. Like I said, we're very in sync this week, and it's happened a couple of times in the past when they brought in a couple girls during the Snatch Game. The Vanjie one was weird because she was bad at Snatch Game, but I think, didn't they bring in Jinx one time? Yeah, they brought in
Jinx 2 seasons ago, and then they brought in Vanjie last season. Jinx
was a great one. They should really have former contestants, especially like people who are either really good at that kind of challenge or previous winners, because I think it's also good for the queens to hear this stuff. You know, it's so funny. This is a little bit of a sidetrack here. I was talking to AfterBuzz TV and Afterthought Media personality Jay Ellis yesterday, and we were talking about, you know, a lot of people have been complaining about the length of this season and whatnot, and some people anyway.
Some people might have had a small tantrum yesterday that are on this show and not the first chair.
Mm-hmm. So,
is that LaCroix refreshing, Joe?
Yesterday when Taylor was going off about it, I was pouring whiskey into my LaCroix. Anyway, Taylor was doing very much Chinatown. She's my daughter. She's my sister yesterday, because he was like, well, I have to be here for the finale. I can't miss the finale. I have to see my mom. I can't be here. I have to be here for the finale. I have to see my mom. And I was like, well, pick one. Couldn't it be both? Couldn't you just take your microphone with you on your trip?
I could. Well, the trip hasn't been scheduled yet.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I may go up for Mother's Day. So that may be at that point we're completely out of the woods. Yeah. But we'll talk about that later.
Cut to RuPaul says we're extending the season. Anyway, the point I was making.
Bye.
But the point I was making was, you know, we just wrapped up Drag Race UK, and inadvertently, they took a 7-month break between the first half and the second half just because of COVID. And I was thinking that actually was a benefit for the show. It gave the girls a chance to regroup and reevaluate, you know, because everyone's talking about it's a very high pressure situation and you have to make decisions. So like they could actually, I wonder, and maybe you could tell me, Taylor, I'm a little behind. Do you feel the second half of the show is better or worse than the first half?
It feels more like an actual season than the first half did. I mean, the first half, there was all the twists and the turns and all that kind of stuff. And that was interesting to a point. But then you get to we're at episode 11 and there's still 7 girls left. It just felt very like, okay, let's just have a double elimination or something to move this along. I mean, come on. But you're also watching a show that feels more like comforting because you know what to expect. They do this challenge every season. You know, there's always the ones that have problems, the ones that do really great. So there is a comfort to that, but it's also sort of a comfort where it's also sort of a feeling where I'm like, I'm just ready to move forward. I'm just ready to move on to the next thing or to take a break, to be excited for this. You know, you and I talked about the fact that between Drag Race UK, Drag Race Down Under, Drag Race Canada, Drag Race Holland, Drag Race España, and all of these different drag, you know, you're going to be like where every single week it's going to be you're looking at drag queens on that runway. And at some point, I understand that she's trying to get every last drop of juice out of this particular, you know, piece of fruit. But at some point, you're just sort of like, it's getting to where you're becoming indifferent to it, where I think that we're all getting fatigued by it. But that's not to say that I won't watch all of them. Yeah. I'll still watch all of them because I want to be part of this community. For now, I'll watch all of them. Yeah. You know, for now, but at some point, I'm going to get to where I just kind of don't care.
Yeah. So the point I was making was that perhaps that might not be a bad way of doing things. You know, South Park, they do a 20-episode season, but they split it up by months. I think they do like 10 in the fall and 10 in the spring. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to do something similar where you can do your 16-episode season, you know, but bring in the girls, the same number of girls you did this season, and do 8 episodes, and then give them a few months off. And I would say bring them back around the time you announce who they are, and finish the season, and give us a break too. So we have 8, and then, well, you know, cliffhanger, and then we'll see you in a few months, and then come back and finish the season. It might not be a bad idea, or to be honest with you, just do 2 short 8-episode seasons.
Just thinking that. I was just thinking that the other day, where I said this would have been this would be better. Kind of like the Top Model way that they used to do things, of where they would have 2 cycles. They would do 2 cycles a year. I just have a smaller group of girls that you become more invested in faster, because it's not like in the beginning where there's 14, 15 girls and you know, as much as I love Olivia, I forgot that Olivia was on the show for the first 4 or 5 episodes of the season, where she would come walking and I go, oh yeah, there's Olivia Lux. I forgot about her. Whereas I feel like if it was where she was on it with a group of 8 girls, that I would have to be more focused on her. I would be much happier to do 2 seasons a year if they were much shorter episodes, shorter seasons.
Someone on Reddit blew my motherfucking mind this morning. They made a joke about Kimora Hall, and they showed her as a whatever, that thing she did. And they were like, someone said, wait, was she on last season or this season? They're like, she was on this season.
There are okay, so we watched through Philo or whatever, that app, and they show the same, which, by the way, that Old Navy commercial is we are where we can't take it anymore. Where it's like the TikTok of where they're moving back and forth.
Forward past commercials.
Okay, well, we watch it live. So, but they show the commercial for Drag Race, and the first person that drops is Elliot with 2 T's. And then they show a picture of Kamora when they're doing the runway challenge in the very, very beginning of the season. And you're just sort of like, Jesus Christ, this is this season. Yeah. This feels like forever. I mean, Elliot just went home 2 weeks ago, and it already feels like she left like 6 months ago. Like this season is just dragging out so much.
Someone pointed out to me that I think either Bob or Willem pointed out, I can't remember, I don't know, there's also so many shows now, that Denali did as many episodes as Bob did on season 8.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because season 8's only 10 episodes. It's so funny, they were so much smarter then, because they knew All Stars 2 was happening that year. Season 8 was a shortened season. It was only 10 episodes, and then they did All Stars 2.
So is this a greed thing? Do you do you think it's just that World of Wonder is just?
I'm thinking and I'm hoping I think, like I told you, I think initially this was, we don't know when we're going to be back. Let's just make this a really long season. You know?
Hopefully.
Yeah. But hopefully they listen and they just fucking shorten the seasons to like, even if it's back to 12 episodes, at least we would be done next week, you know?
Yeah.
We're not going to.
How wonderful would that be? Not that I don't love doing the show and that I don't love our listeners, but but I think everybody is sort of feeling this fatigue with this season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's everyone, today's episode, everyone's feeling what you and I feel about the judging, and also they're fatigued.
Right.
All right. Well, Taylor, on that note, why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we will discuss the actual filming and everything else. Here we go.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
Yeah! Alrighty, now we're back. What an exciting break we had there.
Yes. Thrilling.
Next, Ross Matthews and Carson Kressley coach the girls as they film their commercials. Tina Burner rushes around the set and struggles with her lines. Rosé makes Ross and Carson laugh. Olivia smiles too much. Simone impresses. Utica brings her dead cow, Clara, onto set. Candy rushes to make sure she finishes. And Gottmik confuses Carson and Ross with her sexy farts. Taylor, any thoughts on the in-studio part of this show?
I thought Ross as a director was really good.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed really much like he knew what the visions were or knew how to direct them to get certain things. Everything, it was sort of the gamut of what we expect with this, as far as that some people seem to have no idea what they were doing, particularly Gottmik. And then there were other people that you could tell really knocked it out of the park. I love Simone. Let me start by saying that I love Simone. Simone does the same character every comedy thing, every improv or anything where she has to write the skit or anything like that, where she has the one hand that she has up along her side and she has the wrist down with kind of where she sort of looks like she's like, clutching a dollar bill kind of thing. And she does the swing around and she says something in a way that's very smart and very funny, but with the same cadence and the same tone. But it makes us laugh every time. Similar to, we've used this, and we know they're friends with Gigi last season, where she always kind of did the Kate McKinnon sort of where we're going to talk really low and we're going to talk really, very monotone sort of thing. It's something that works for her. It's just sort of like, okay, this is the third time we've seen this, I feel like. And I want something a little different as far as if we're going to be acting in something, I want to see something a little different from her.
I don't personally have a problem with it. And what's funny is on this particular episode, where it's about branding, and we'll get to this when we get to the critiques, it would make sense for her to do this because it's part of her brand. And on the main stage, she got praised for it. And I don't want to get too into this right now because we'll get to the main stage. But then they criticize Tina for doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, in this challenge, you get a pass, in my book at least, for bringing your brand to this challenge. Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense if you look at it as a branding challenge, then that does make sense. I just wish that there was something else to it. Yeah. I mean, it was one of my, it should have won. It should have been one of the two winners. I just feel like we've seen this, even to put a slight nuance on it would be something a little bit different, but I don't know. That was just sort of my thought about all of those, as far as the actual recordings of the commercials. Also, I feel like this is the first time they've told us they each get 30 minutes. I feel like in times past, they haven't said, you have 30 minutes to do this. They've just said, okay, you're on the clock, go. And we've never been told the actual amount.
I feel in the early days they did. Oh, did you live in a haunted house?
No, my chair. I need a new chair. It squeaked.
Oh.
That was my chair, too.
Oh, can't you just do WD-40?
I could. I don't have any WD-40 here.
I think we got the farts.
That's what I think. So, if for some reason you brought this up before, and I don't know the Jada thing. It never occurs to me. I never think about it. Maybe that's just my
Simone.
Oh,
you said Jada.
Sorry, she's on this episode.
Racist.
I know.
All black queens look alike to Joe Betance.
They do. Anyway, well, there goes Haley Sklans and her mom. Bye. Like again, like Laverne and Shirley waving by at the bottle. I do not think all black people look alike. I think her name is just on the tip of my tongue because she was in this episode. Mm-hmm. And because she's black. Okay, now... No. Actually, the reality, what I was thinking about while you were talking was about how, Jada Essence Hall made, and did take her look over there and turn it into a thing in her own branding style.
Okay.
So that's actually what I was thinking about. But going back to Simone, it never really occurred. I just never noticed it before. I know it's something you've talked about. And it came up on Reddit too. I guess I never clock it. I don't know why. It just floats right by me. One thing I want to say was, obviously, I was feeling some type of way when Carson pointed out Rosé's bathrobe and it had Jan on it.
I would totally get one of those.
Why?
I don't know. I just think it's kind of awesome. I think it's great that she branded an iconic moment that she was a part of, that she was smart enough to do something like that and to recognize that she had, pop culture gold in that and to do things with it. And it's a funny moment. I mean, it's been made so much into memes and everything, but I always think when I saw her wear that robe at the reunion last year and the fact that Rosé had the Jan robe on, I was just like, if I wore shorty robes, I would totally wear that Jan robe around the house.
I know a guy who's straight and wears those shorty robes, and it's kind of odd.
Yeah. Well, shorty robes I don't think I've had a shorty robe since I was like maybe 11. I had a shorty robe. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And even then, when I think about it, why did my parents get me a shorty robe? Why did they just get me like a full on robe?
Well, easy access.
Questions for future episodes.
They wanted you to get used to having easy. Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have enough for easy access for Bobby.
They wanted me to get used to have easy what?
Access. Anyway, by the way, I didn't mention that Gottmik looks really cute this week. I was really feeling Gottmik, and I must have been horny or something like that. Because also, Bryce never does it for me, and Bryce was doing it for me this week too.
I'm not a fan of Bryce. I'm definitely a fan of the other guy. Yeah. The other guy with his accent.
I know. Anyway, so that was all my thoughts. What you were talking about Ross earlier with the direction, I thought it was really smart, the advice he was giving about the Victoria's Secret, and what he was doing was very writery, is putting the right words in the right places so they get the right emphasis and so it enhances the joke. So go Ross.
Why do you think that is, though, that people can't? There always seems to be one queen during one of these challenges that they say, no, say it this way. And they go, okay, got it. And then they go back and say it the other.
And I could see it once, but Tina had 3 times. She eventually got it because the final cut has the right way.
Right. But we saw that earlier this season with Kamora Hall, where she was the tree. Mm-hmm. And it's a weird... I've never been in this situation, but I mean, the fact that even if it's something where they say, repeat after me, Victoria isn't the only one who has a secret. Now say that. And she goes, now it's not just Victoria's. I don't get where your brain shuts off like that.
I'm wondering though, cause I just watched a video about something else, but in it they mentioned that, who's that annoying gay guy who runs around the street yelling at people?
Joe Betance?
Yeah, him and...
shit.
He's in that show called where they're annoying people or something like that.
Right. He was on Parks and Rec, and he was in Difficult People, and Billy Eichner.
They showed a clip. They were trying to make that point about how when you're in a stressful situation, your brain shuts off. And they showed a clip of Billy Eichner running up to a woman and saying, "Name a woman," and she couldn't name a. He's like, "Name a woman, name a woman, any woman, name a single woman," and she's like, "I," and he just runs off. And they were talking about when you're in those high pressure situations, your brain, the ability to do critical thinking, shuts down. So maybe it's something like that where she's in this high pressure situation, so in her head that she couldn't do it. I don't know. All right, it's elimination day and the queens get ready for the runway. The girls have a discussion about their personal brands. Tina's brand is fire. Rosé sees herself as a comedian. Tina doubts Rosé's comedic abilities, and Rosé shades Tina for her mediocre performance throughout the season. Candy opens up about a gay bashing incident from her past, and Gottmik commends Rosé for her beastly makeup. Taylor, the Latte Boy, any thoughts on this elimination day?
Well, I mean, I feel like we have to talk about the gay bashing that Candy did. This helps. This was smart on the producer's part, I think, to help open up the eyes to some people who really have had a bad taste in their mouth because of Candy over the course of this season. And I felt a little for her, and it helps me to understand why she is so acerbic. That doesn't make it excusable, but it also helps me to see why she has felt the need to fight. I mean, if she that sounds like a traumatic. This isn't just being pushed up against a locker kind of thing. Not that that's fun either, but I mean, if her arm was broken by these three guys and it happened in middle school, that to me says, that's something that stays with you. That's a trauma that absolutely stays with you. And where it almost sends you to that place of where small things, you feel threatened, before maybe when you weren't expecting it, you got beat down. So you're going to be the attacker before you get attacked.
There are a lot of interesting things that are not super obvious, and obvious in this whole segment about Candy is earlier, I can't remember why, Candy says, maybe it's in this context, that she actually holds back. And I was like, you hold back? I was like, oh God, I don't want to see you unleashed, right? But what's funny, too, is after Candy talks about this later on, as they're still talking about it, Rosé says to Candy, I knew you one way in New York, and it's been amazing and beautiful to see you, a fuller side of you, and to know that you're kind of a sweet person. I'm paraphrasing. Kind of a sweet person. And I was thinking, well, we haven't seen that. I'm not necessarily blaming Candy or Rosé, but what I'm saying is, have the editors done a disservice in terms of the storyline and the arc they're trying to present by not showing us a complete picture of Candy? We've seen glimpses of it in the past few weeks because now, and this goes to the goopery and the tomfoolery and the stunt shows, they're trying to win us back on Candy, but I think they may have pushed too far, and it's going to be hard to go back in. But then they didn't show us that part. They didn't show us, they got glimpses of it, but we haven't really seen that side that they're talking about. I'm not doubting it exists, but we haven't seen that complete picture. They've rendered her down to a caricature.
Well, and I talked about this with you during the Meet the Queens, that I feel like she's the one that's going to have the arc. She's the one that's going to have the where you hate her and then by the end you're rooting for her sort of thing. And this is definitely where, I mean, we've only got 43 episodes left to really kind of get to that point of where that's going to be what happens. And I feel like this is where they're trying to show her in that way. And in the beginning, there were so many other queens for what felt like so long that they never really had a chance to, they didn't want that storyline to bloom too quickly, but I almost wonder if it, like you're saying, I almost wonder if it bloomed too late.
Yeah. It's a tricky situation. I don't know. I don't know if because even now I know what they're doing, but we can see it. It's so obvious. It's so patently obvious right now.
But this is similar to the girls know to expect the question of who should go home this week. We as listeners, especially the very rabid fan base, know there are people that watch this show and they just pop a bowl of popcorn and they just sit and they don't think about it.
That's
just
most
watch
people.
Drag queens. That is most people. But then you've got people like you and I and a lot of the people that are in the chat room right now and a lot of those hardcore listeners and the people that go on Reddit and the people that follow them all on social media and stuff that are very much of where we know what beats to. We can tell almost immediately which ones are going to be in the top half versus which ones are going to be filler queens. And we're getting better. We're getting better at playing the game, just like the contestants are getting better at playing the game. And this is another example of that. We are seeing the puppet strings being pulled at this point. And those of us who are really kind of watching this, and at some point it becomes offensive to a way that you sort of I get that you're trying to manipulate my feelings and I know what you're trying to do and I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to allow it. But then on the other hand, I just got done saying I feel for Candy when she's talking about this. If this story had come episode 4, I would have been sort of like, whatever. So you got beat up. That sucks. You know.
Well, you can feel both. You can feel both.
I am not Team Candy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's where, but there are people now that are going to think, oh, Candy's been such a bitch all season. And they're going to look at this and go, oh God, now I really want Candy to win because she had a horrible experience in middle school. There are going to be people out there like that.
You know this Congressman Lindsey Graham?
I'd prefer not to, but yes, I know who he is.
Yeah. Horrible human being. Horrible human being. And it appears to me, I have no evidence, he seems to me like a self-hating, closeted homosexual.
I would completely agree with that.
And I hate him. I think he is so conniving and just a weasel, right? But on the other side, there is a pity that I have on him. Like, imagine the hell he lives in that, like, every time he comes inside of a prostitute, he just probably weeps. The prostitute has probably, like, for the hour, it's 20 minutes of fucking and 40 minutes of holding him as he weeps. You know?
Well, I don't think he's coming in prostitutes. I have a feeling prostitutes are coming in him.
Good point. But still the weeping.
As we've potentially heard.
Yeah, maybe.
About allegedly Lady G.
Yeah. But, and I'm sure he has a plan to be straight for the last years of his life so he goes to heaven. But,
I was putting a correlation to what you were talking about right there. Yeah.
So you can do both. I do feel sorry for him, but I still do not like the person, right?
Well, there's feeling sorry for somebody and there's pitying them. And I think those are two different things. You know, he has the ability at this point, you know, Lindsey Graham has the ability at some point to correct his actions. Okay. And that would be where you would not necessarily, you know, I wouldn't feel sorry for him, but I would appreciate the attempt to do better. But he has no interest in doing that because he is looking for the path of least resistance and he is looking to be where he is going, you know, however he benefits in this, that's what he's going to do. In that regards, I just sort of pity him. You know, you use the phrase hate. I don't hate, you know, hate is a strong word. Indifference is the best revenge. Where you just sort of think like, you're just a horrible person and I'm not going to give you any more thought or energy than I have to. You know, because when you hate somebody, that means that you're invested in their well-being, good, bad, or otherwise. You know, and that's not, you know, there's only been one person that I can think of that I hate and over the last 4 years. And, you know, I hate
I think you've been on the show for like 5 years.
And I hate the fact that I allowed myself to become so invested in what he did to all of us that, you know, it took away my energy and it took away from my well-being and you know, I allowed myself to get invested. And I was nothing compared to some of my clients when they would talk about him.
On that note, it's time for
the looks.
All right. This week the category is Beast. Oh wait, you know what? I actually have that. This week the category is Beast. Taylor, this is the part where you shine. Go ahead.
Thank you. So first up was Utica, who came out in an outfit that was actually sort of inspired. I didn't realize it till I looked at her Instagram today on Beauty and the Beast with the beast horns. That's what she was going for. But she came out in a one-shouldered fur dress that was black fur with little yellow and orange, like kind of foxtails all over it, with long black hair and smeared mascara that looked like it was running down her face. Absolutely gorgeous. She looked amazing. One of the strongest looks that I've seen. I would say I like this look more than the sleeping bag look from earlier in the season.
And that's a fair argument to make, going with the goopery. On the main stage, they were like, meh. And I'm like, fuck you, it's not meh. That is a stunning look.
Yes, no, absolutely. She was absolutely gorgeous. Next up was Candy Muse in a green screen bodysuit with a inflatable, I guess was supposed to be an alien kind of strap behind her with fur over her tits and her crotchal region, and just absolutely horrible. She just looked. She looked like somebody who had on a costume earlier in the night at a Halloween party and was sweaty and overheated. So she eventually took off the costume and was just sort of walking around in this outfit. It's
a dreadful look. It's awful. It's awful.
It's so we're not even trying.
We're not even trying.
Yeah. So then next up is Tina Burner, who kind of gave sort of a Five Nights at Freddy's look of where she had multiple stuffed animals that were all kind of stitched together and in an outfit that I thought was actually a lot of fun. The makeup was barely there, but the actual costume itself, I thought the construction and everything was really, really amazing and looked really great. I even loved the stuffed cotton that was coming out of her shoulder to kind of make sort of like a shoulder pad sort of thing.
By the way, Five Nights at Freddy's is a video game that Taylor's referencing.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a video game that I don't quite understand how you play it, but I just know that it's not anything I have any interest in. So next up is Simone giving furry realness as a sexy fox, a sexy fox in a tank top that's a tank top cutoff and short jeans. And I thought the outfit was great. It looked a little costumey to me, but the execution of it was really good. It looked like something costume. Yeah, I know it is a costume compared to a outfit, but still, it was she didn't wear the costume. The costume didn't wear her. She wore the costume, so she looked great. Next up is Gottmik and her nipples coming out in an outfit that was supposed to be sort of like a demon face with large eyeballs as her shoulders. A great executed outfit. I thought it was really great. I loved her hair, kind of this sort of Elvira, sort of big beehive, Mars Attacks kind of thing. I thought everything about this was really great, really well executed. I am tired of looking at her nipples, however. Next up is Olivia Lux, who came out in a blue and light blue and almost a neon green or an acid green outfit with her face painted blue. Looked great. I thought another well executed outfit with a lot of texture and patterns to it. So there was always something to look at, particularly if you looked at the actual bodysuit itself. There was lots of things, there was lots of details and things to look at in that regard. And finally, we had Rosé, and Rosé came out looking sort of like a devil in... This is going to go down as one of my favorite outfits of the season. Because this was flawless in how she executed this. Everything about it, there wasn't any exposed skin. That was her natural skin tone. The outfit itself was just amazing. I love the fact that the fingernails were all super long and pointy, so it just extended the silhouette to some degree of it, and the hair, everything about it was, there's not a single thing that she did wrong with this look, and it's incredible. And those are the looks.
Wow, that is a very concise. When someone has to be somewhere, someone's a little concise.
That's not why I just was thinking about this last night, and I know the ones I liked and I know the ones I didn't, and so I figured I could just burn through them really fast.
All right, now let's talk about the commercials. We don't have to necessarily go through each one unless you want to. We can give hot button takes on them if you want, but let's talk about the commercials. Let's talk about Utica's first. Utica's your hot take on it.
My hot take on Utica's was that it was weird, but Utica is weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
But you know what? They were talking about the whole, like, I wouldn't understand this and I wouldn't get the whole thing. And it reminded me in some ways of the Skittles commercials, where if you did a series, like the first Skittles commercial the one that they show is of the guy on the beach that's milking a giraffe and he's pouring Skittles out of the giraffe's udders. Have you seen that one?
No. Are you okay? Are you high?
No, it's one of these where Skittles has a series of commercials like that. But that one in particular is very where you watch, you're like, what the fuck am I watching? But if anything, it makes you remember the drink. So I would think that a drink like that would actually make you remember, you know, the drink, plus the whole idea of the licking the can and stuff. I thought that it was, I thought that it made sense to me, you know, in that regards, because she is so weird. And then where she's doing the weird thing where she's just randomly running through a field. And I thought that the critiques were not fair, but I feel a rant coming on shortly, so we could discuss that more then.
Well, again, I wouldn't have it didn't make any sense. I wouldn't have a problem if it didn't feel so much like the thumb was on the scale. And so they were, so like, in other words, it's a fair critique, but yet other ones that made no sense or whatnot were praised. Even though I don't know if any of those got praised, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So, next one, I just put weird. Candy Muse, her commercial.
It was horrible.
It was awful.
It was absolutely horrible. It made no sense. This is one of these situations in which it is so the laughter. Like, you can tell when Ru is really laughing at something and when Ru is doing the I have to laugh because I've got to keep this person on for another couple episodes. Mm-hmm. And that's clearly what this was. Yeah. And the timing was off. And again, I understand that it's branding, but it's Candy doing the exact same thing that Candy always does in everything she does. Yeah. And that combined with the look, I just sat there with my mouth open while they were talking about where they were all heaping praise on her for this incredible commercial that was just utter bullshit.
It was awful.
It was just bullshit. It was awful.
It was awful. The laughter felt so forced and so fake. I wrote, maybe someone explain to me, what was the name of her drink? K what?
The K Special.
The K Special. Is that some sort of like Special K drug joke?
Yes.
But, like a K-hole kind of thing? And they were laughing as if it was like super funny, and it was not good. It was just not good. And it seems like whenever she says like bitch, they just think it's so funny when she says bitch. We saw this when they did the improv one where they were like how funny she was, and she wasn't funny. It's like they're trying to sell us something that it's to be honest with you, as much as RuPaul hates Donald Trump and the Republicans, it feels a lot like that same kind of propaganda that the Republicans do when they make their weird points, you know, where you're like, what are you talking about?
It almost makes you wonder how often have they done this to us in the past, but this is just so blatant. This is so beyond the pale that we didn't necessarily recognize that we were told to love particular queens because they told us, they told us over time that we were supposed to love particular queens. But it was by far, she should have been in the bottom for that.
She should have been in the bottom. And if they were trying to send Utica home, maybe they weren't. Because, okay, let's talk about Tina Burner. And the sentiment on Reddit is behind, I don't know if you feel the same way that I do, but is what I'm going to say right now. I know there's a lot of sentiment that feels the same way I do, which is, I think we all felt it was time for Tina to go. That her time on the show was coming to an end. But it shouldn't have been this way. The means don't justify the end here. And the story producers, obviously, or the producers obviously felt it was time for Tina to go. And so they just fucking jammed that in, like in the peg trying to go in the square peg trying to go in the round hole. And trying to make that fit. Because I watched Tina's knowing she was going to go home. And was like, let me see for this piece of shit. And it was clear. I understood it. Did I say it was the funniest thing ever? No. But we just seen Utica. We just seen Candy. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on. This one, I see where she's going. It makes sense. It sells the brand.
To her brand.
It speaks to her brand. Does she landed the Victoria's Secret joke because they edited it right? And like, it was a competent, if anything, it was a safe commercial.
Yes.
It was safe. Yes. And her look was safe. She's just safe in this season. And for her to be in the bottom two, when we can make arguments for almost everyone except Rosé and Simone, is ridiculous. She should have gone home, but not this way.
Right. No, I think that it was I thought that it was going to be Utica versus Olivia. Well, my husband and I were talking during the commercial break. I said it was going to be Utica versus Olivia so that they can send Utica home. And was very surprised when it was Tina in the bottom. But also Tina's been kind of a non-entity for most of this season. So I guess maybe they're just looking at her as sort of at least Olivia and Utica, they each have a win. And they have where they bring something to storylines, whereas Tina's just been sort of in the background this whole time. So maybe they just sort of thought it was time for her to go. But I agree with you.
That's fine, but the justification they have for sitting at home does not make any sense, and it renders everything they.
It doesn't make. Did you watch Untucked?
Yeah.
Okay, and she talks about that.
Yeah.
I checked all the boxes. I did everything they said they were supposed to do. They were talking about the fact that it speaks like it's kind of like what my brand is. That just feels like, okay, well, it's the housewife thing. That's my brand. That's what I do. It makes sense.
But what's funny is that Olivia and Simone start to work the logic backwards because they've obviously heard the critique and they somehow justify it in their head. And I go, how? It doesn't make any sense. Gottmik's commercial was awful. All right. And the look, you can kind of say, was like, we've seen that. It's so funny because they're telling Tina they keep doing the same thing. And they're not wrong. The red, the yellow, and the orange. But Gottmik does the same exact shit. We see her fucking nipples every single motherfucking time. Everything's exact. Not to say the looks aren't good, but it's the same fucking thing every week.
Well, she changed up her makeup this week.
Okay, great. So did Tina. So it's in the same episode. They're giving it's psychotic. It's psychotic. And so they should just be honest and be like, oh yeah, whatever. Anyway, let's move on. Simone was fantastic. I thought it was great. It was funny.
Simone was funny. It was very funny. As much as I said the thing about the cadence and the voice and everything, it was a fun. We laughed at it, and I almost wish that they don't share some of the jokes when they're showing them recording it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would have more of a pop to it if you actually saw the commercials, without seeing the jokes that are involved in it. Like when you're actually watching it the full time.
Gottmik, her commercial.
Horrible.
And
it was absolutely horrible.
It reminded me of, you often see this with pretty girls when they try to be funny. And their idea of funny is like showing them farting, or their makeup is messed up, or they're doing look at me, I'm gross. I'm so gross. Like I'm and water's gonna pour all over me. And you're like, okay, that's not funny. Like to them, they're making a dumb face, and so that means they're funny. And you're like, oh God, that's awful. It was awful. It made no sense. Anyway, Olivia's
was boring.
This is boring.
Olivia's was boring and poorly acted. So I feel like she should have been, there was a possibility that she was going to be she was in the bottom. They just told her she was safe.
Yeah.
But not great. And because of the fact that they talked about the fact that she's smiling all the time. I mean, and that is a good note. I mean, you're supposed to be miserable, and then you find this soda, and then suddenly you're happy. But I mean, the fact that she couldn't necessarily do that, she couldn't take the notes.
I mean, you are really making an argument as to why Olivia should have been in the bottom too, which you said earlier, because was her commercial horrible? No, but it's worse than Tina's. And was her outfit horrible? No, but it was worse than Tina's. So just on points alone, she should have been in the bottom two with Utica. Even though you could
I don't know that I don't know the argument can be made for. I would say that Olivia's outfit and Tina's outfit were on par with each other. They were both about the same.
Even then, if you're looking at points, Olivia's commercial is just a notch below Tina's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I that's why I said during the commercial, I said it's going to be Olivia versus Utica, and then they're going to send Utica home.
Yeah.
And that's
but they could have done. I mean, they could have done that. I don't know. Rosé
was great. It was a fun commercial. She made fun of herself. I love the fact that she kind of was making fun of Michelle's critiques the whole time. So, but that's similar to last season with Jada making fun of her Grey's Anatomy character in her commercial. So kind of bringing it back. And that also is showing that she's paying attention to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back on the main stage, Simone and Rosé both win the challenge. Meanwhile, Tina Burner and Utica find themselves in the bottom two and forced to engage in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song, My Humps by the Black Eyed Peas. In the end, Utica cheers when she hears Shantae You Stay. That same old weird
Yeah, that's
homeschool
not
kid
it.
thing. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Tina Burner is, next week you're going to hear her dancing in like, woo-hoo-hoo, Meanwhile, Tina Burner is told to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode? Let's talk about the lip sync. Let's talk about
I
the lip
loved
sync.
Utica's lip sync. I thought Utica's lip sync was fun. And the fact that I think that she had her eyes, the contacts in helped with that whole creepy. At one point, she looked like she was floating along the back of the stage at one point, and it was a really fun lip sync to watch. Whereas I felt like Tina was at a disadvantage with that outfit for one thing, because she couldn't necessarily show a whole lot with her body, and also she was there seemed to be a little bit of a desperation in some of her moves. That was not fun to watch.
I'll be honest with you. I slightly disagree with you. I actually think that both lip syncs were on par.
Okay.
With each other. And once again, I think they wasted the double Shantae a couple weeks ago, and they probably should have done it here. You could have made an argument. Like, they were both...
You could have, but, I mean, between the two, I enjoyed Utica's more.
Okay, that's fine. They were on par for me. Like, they were both very different approaches to the song. What did you think of this choice as a song for a lip sync? I didn't think it was a good choice.
It's a weird, because there's a lot of male singing in it. There are a lot of male rapping in it, but it's a fun song, just similar to Drag Race UK ending with "I'm Still Standing," which is an Elton John song. It was fun. It was. I'll be curious if they include more male lip syncs in the future, similar to the way they do it with Drag Race UK.
All right, very good. Any other final thoughts on the episode?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Tanner the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMC Taylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram at Joe Betance. That's JoeBetance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.